My friends, tonight I want you to lift your vision far above the facts of life, far above appearances, far above what your senses whisper to you in secret. For what the senses say is fleeting, and what the spirit within you knows is eternal. God is about to surprise you. The invisible is moving, even now, through the corridors of your being, arranging circumstances, preparing blessings, shaping events beyond your comprehension. You may see nothing with the outer eye, yet the miracle is already set in motion. The moment you accept its reality inwardly, you set the entire universe to work on your behalf. Tonight I will show you how to stand in that place of faith, how to occupy the state in which the miraculous becomes inevitable, the seed of imagination. My friends, let us begin where all things begin, in the imagination. Do not underestimate this word. The imagination is not a toy of the mind. It is the creative power of God moving in you. It is not a daydream, not a fancy, not some idle play of thought. It is substance. It is spirit. It is the divine workshop where all forms are shaped before they cast their shadows on the screen of the world. Every event you have ever called real was first an unseen movement within the imagination of someone who dared to believe. Tonight I ask you to lay hold of this truth with both hands. Your imagination is God in action. It is not separate from God. It is not something you have. It is what you are. When you imagine, you are exercising the same power that flung the stars into their courses. Creation is not finished. It is ongoing, and you are its center. The world you see around you is not the cause of what you think. It is the effect. It is your imagination pushed out, crystallized, objectified. So if you desire a miracle, if you long for the sudden movement of God to transform your life, do not search for it in the outer world. Begin within. Every miracle begins as a seed, and the seed is a single simple assumption held in the depths of your mind. An assumption so alive with feeling that it takes root and begins to grow unseen. You will not see the stalk as it pushes through the dark soil. You will not hear the silent cracking of the shell. Yet the seed is alive, and the life within it is God Himself. Now how does one plant this seed? Not by begging, not by pleading with some distant deity. God is not out there. He is here, in the midst of your own being. You plant the seed by assuming the state of the wish fulfilled. What would you see if your desire were now a fact? What would you hear? What would you feel in the depths of your being if it were already accomplished? Take that scene, that fragment of experience, and clothe yourself in it. Walk within it as though it were now. This is the planting of the seed. I tell you, this act is not make-believe. It is creation in its purest form. When you dare to assume, even for a moment, that what you desire is already yours, you impress that assumption upon the depths of the subconscious, and the subconscious is the womb of creation. It does not argue, it does not reason, it simply receives and brings forth. Once the seed is planted, it will grow. The world may say there is no sign of change. Let the world speak. The farmer does not dig up his seed each morning to see if it has sprouted. He waters it with faith. He protects it from doubt. He gives it time. And in time the harvest appears. So too must you guard the seed of your imagination. Do not expose it to the cold winds of fear. Do not trample it with the heavy feet of doubt. Let it rest in the silent darkness of faith. Water it each day with the living waters of feeling. Feel it as though it were already done. The feeling is the life-giving sap that nourishes the seed. Thought without feeling is a dry seed that will not take root. But thought infused with feeling is irresistible. It must manifest. And hear me now. You are not to concern yourself with how the seed will grow. The ways of God are beyond tracing out. The means are not your concern. The end is certain. The method is mysterious. When you imagine, you release a creative cause into the depths of being, and there it is joined by a wisdom far greater than your conscious mind. That wisdom arranges circumstances, moves people, shifts events, opens doors, closes others, all to bring forth what you have dared to assume. Leave the how to God. Concern yourself only with dwelling in the end. There is a law at work, silent yet certain, as within so without. If you wish to know what you are imagining, look at your world. It is the mirror of your inner state. The world does not happen to you. It happens through you. What you accept as true about yourself, life must outpicture. If you see lack, it is because you are imagining lack. If you see limitation, it is because you are assuming limitation. But if you dare to see abundance, if you dare to feel the joy of answered prayer, if you dare to stand inwardly in the finished state of your desire, then the world must reflect that too. So let me ask you tonight, what are you planting? Are you planting seeds of fear or seeds of faith? Are you sowing images of failure or visions of victory? Are you rehearsing the worst or imagining the best? For whatever you sow, you shall surely reap, and your imagination is sowing every moment, whether you know it or not. You cannot stop imagining, but you can choose what you imagine. That choice is the axis upon which your whole life turns. God is about to surprise you, but you must first surprise yourself. You must dare to imagine what your senses deny. You must dare to feel rich when the bank account is empty. You must dare to feel whole when the body aches. You must dare to feel loved when the world seems cold. This is not pretending. It is proclaiming. It is the proclamation of faith. It is the proclamation of faith. It is done, and when that proclamation takes root in feeling, the invisible becomes visible. The impossible becomes inevitable. I tell you, my friends, nothing stands between you and your miracle but your present state of consciousness. Shift that state, and the world will shift with it. Do not wait for the outer to change before you believe. Believe and the outer must change. This is the law of the seed. This is the mystery of creation. The seed does not consult the weather. It does not seek permission from the soil. It contains within itself the pattern of the harvest. And your desire, once imagined and felt as real, contains within itself the pattern of its fulfillment. So tonight, go into the garden of your mind and plant deliberately. Plant joy, plant abundance, plant freedom, plant healing, plant every good and perfect thing. Tend it with faith. Speak gently to it each day with your inner word. You are mine. You are growing. You are certain. And though for a time there may be only silence, though the outer fields seem barren, know that beneath the surface life is stirring, the roots are spreading, the stalk is rising, and soon, so soon the harvest will break through and astonish your sense. Then you will say, God has surprised me, but in truth God has only fulfilled what you dared to imagine. And you will stand in wonder, not at the strangeness of the miracle, but at the simplicity of the law, for the whole of creation moves to answer the heart that dares to believe. 2. The great reversal. The world tells you, I will believe it when I see it. But I stand before you to declare the eternal law of consciousness. You will see it when you believe it. That is the great reversal. All who have ever touched the miraculous have known this reversal. They have dared to believe before the evidence appeared. They have stood upon the invisible long enough for the visible to appear. And the world, blind to the inner cause, has called it luck, fortune, chance. But there is no chance in a universe governed by law. There is only assumption becoming fact. This reversal is the stumbling stone to the natural mind, for the natural mind demands proof. It says, show me the money, and I will feel prosperous. Show me the healing, and I will feel whole. Show me the love, and I will feel worthy. But the law says, feel prosperous, and the money will come. Feel whole, and the healing will appear. Feel worthy, and the love will rush to meet you. Do you see the reversal? It is not outer first, then inner. It is inner first, then outer. The world is the shadow, your state is the substance. Everything depends upon your acceptance of this one fact. Consciousness is the only reality, not matter, not circumstances, not conditions. Consciousness. What you are conscious of being, you will inevitably express. You cannot be conscious of poverty and live in abundance. You cannot be conscious of lack and manifest plenty. You cannot be conscious of fear and walk in freedom. But you can reverse it all by reversing your inner stance. Begin to assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Begin to see yourself as you desire to be, and persist until it feels natural. That is the secret of the great reversal. When I speak of assuming, I do not mean daydreaming. I mean a living conviction that sinks beneath thought into feeling. The moment you feel it real, you have shifted states. You are no longer the old man. You are the new. And because the outer must conform to the inner, the world will soon mirror the change. It must, for there is no power in the world to resist the persistent assumption of a man who knows who he is. Do not wait for the world to change. The world waits for you. It is only echo. It is only reflection. You think the mirror will smile first, and then you will smile back. But the mirror cannot move until you do. This is the reversal. Smile inwardly, and the mirror smiles. Feel inwardly, and the mirror responds. The outer is powerless until the inner moves. The great tragedy is that men sit before their mirrors frowning, pleading with the reflection to change, not knowing they hold the power all along. This is why the Master said, when you pray, believe that you have received it, and you should not believe after you see it, but before. Prayer is not begging, it is assuming. It is the inner act of claiming possession of what the senses deny. When you pray, you are not asking God to do a thing. God has already done all things. You are simply accepting the finished work as present fact, and the moment you accept it, it begins to objectify itself in your world. The reversal demands courage, for it demands you turn your back upon the evidence of your senses. Your eyes may show you lack, but you must look within and see abundance. Your ears may tell you it is impossible, but you must hear the song of it is done. Your body may cry of pain, but you must feel the peace of health. This is the great daring, to stand in the end, while the facts shout their contradiction. And yet if you will do it, even for a moment, you will discover a strange thing. The facts begin to soften, they begin to lose their power, they begin to bend, and then to break, under the weight of your assumption. Let me tell you, the facts are not final. They are only the fossilized shadow of your former belief. They have no life of their own. They will change when you change your state. The world you see today is the outpicturing of the man you were yesterday. If you persist in being the man you choose to be today, the world must conform tomorrow. That is law. There is no escape from it, and no exception to it. What you are inwardly determines what you experience outwardly. There is no other cause. And so if you desire a miracle, reverse the order. Do not say when the healing comes I will rejoice. Rejoice now. Do not say when the opportunity arrives I will be confident. Be confident now. Do not say when I am loved I will feel worthy. Feel worthy now. The feeling of the wish fulfilled is the power that calls it forth. The outer is compelled by the inner. The unseen moves first. The seen follows. This is the law of life, and to ignore it is to remain bound to delay. I know this reversal seems like foolishness to the world. They will call it denial. They will say, you are ignoring reality. But what they call reality is only yesterday's imagination, hardened into form. It is not reality, it is residue. You are not ignoring reality, you are creating it. You are stepping into tomorrow's world before the rest of the world can see it. And when it appears, they will call it sudden. They will call it a miracle. They will call it God's surprise. But you will know you have simply walked by the law of reversal. This is the mystery of faith. Faith is not hoping things will change. Faith is knowing they already have. Faith stands in the unseen as though it were seen. And because it stands, the unseen becomes seen. Faith is not effort, it is rest. It is resting in the finished work. It is resting in the knowledge that what you have assumed must become. And when you rest in that assurance, the burden lifts, the struggle ends, and life begins to flow in harmony with your inner stance. So I ask you tonight, are you willing to reverse the order? Are you willing to believe before you see? Are you willing to celebrate before the evidence comes? If you are, then you have set your feet upon the path of the miraculous. You have aligned yourself with the created principle of the universe, and the universe must answer you. It has no choice, for it is your own consciousness outpictured. Take this law and use it. This very night, close your eyes and turn inward. See yourself as you would be if your desire were already fulfilled. Walk through that inner scene, touch it, hear it, smell the air of it, feel the weight of it, and when you open your eyes, carry that feeling with you. Let it walk beside you in every step. Refuse to contradict it with words of doubt. Refuse to betray it by rehearsing the old state. Hold it, guard it, treasure it. This is how you reverse the order. This is how you call the invisible into view. And soon, my friends, what you assumed in secret will shout itself from the rooftops. What you believed before seeing will be seen by all, and you will smile, not in surprise, but in quiet knowing, for you will understand at last the great reversal, that the outer is forever the servant of the inner, and that God has always been moving from within you outward, clothing your assumptions in flesh, and bringing forth in time what you have dared to believe in eternity. 3. Dwelling in the end. My friends, if you truly wish to see the miraculous, if you desire to experience God's sudden and marvelous surprises, you must learn the art of dwelling in the end. This is the secret hidden in plain sight, the mystery whispered through the ages. Assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled and dwell there. Do not visit it as a traveler. Inhabit it as a resident. The difference is everything. Most people live as beggars at the door of their own desire. They look at what they want from a distance. They say, someday perhaps. They imagine it as something apart from themselves. But what is apart from you cannot come to you. To make it real, you must make it present. You must make it here and now in your imagination. The end is not a place you approach. It is a state you occupy. You cannot arrive at the end by walking through time. You arrive at the end by assuming it now, this instant, in the silence of your soul. To dwell in the end is to put on the garment of the answered prayer. It is to wear the feeling of the fulfilled desire as naturally as you wear your own name. The world will call it pretense, but it is not pretense, it is creation. You are not pretending. You are establishing the pattern into which the outer world must crystallize. The outer is powerless to resist the sustained assumption of the inner man. When you dwell in the end, you impress the pattern of fulfillment upon the subconscious, and the subconscious faithfully builds the outer world according to your inner command. Consider this. If you desired to travel to a far city, you would not stand at your door lamenting the miles between. You would close your eyes and see yourself there. You would imagine the streets, the voices, the very air of it. And if you persisted in that imaginal journey, you would eventually walk it with your feet. So it is with every desire. The end is not reached by struggle, but by surrender. By surrendering to its reality within. The moment you see yourself there inwardly, you have already arrived in truth, and the outer journey is only the shadow of your inner arrival. But here is the challenge. Most will not dwell. They will touch the end briefly, like a man warming his hands at a distant fire, and then return to the cold of their doubts. They say, I imagined it, but nothing happened. They imagine for a moment and then look again at the facts, and the facts devour the seed. To dwell in the end is to refuse that return. It is to remain in the state of fulfillment regardless of appearances. It is to say, this is who I am now, and to abide in that identity until the world bows to it. When you dwell in the end, you will feel the subtle shift. It is not thunderous. It is quiet. It is the sense of done. The striving ceases. The yearning dissolves. You no longer reach for the thing, you rest in it. You look upon the world not as one hoping, but as one remembering. That is the sign you have entered the state. And from that state, everything moves. The right people appear. The doors open. The delays vanish. But you do not chase these things. They are drawn to you as surely as rivers are drawn to the sea. Understand, dwelling in the end is not daydreaming about some distant future. It is claiming your desire as a present fact. It is living from it, not toward it. Most live toward their desire. They say, one day I will have it, but that day never comes, for they are always placing it ahead of themselves. Time stretches it endlessly out of reach. But when you live from the desire, you collapse time. You declare, I have it now, and the world must reorganize itself to make your declaration visible. This is the meaning of the words. Call the things that are not seen as though they were. The world thinks you are lying when you do this. But you are not lying. You are speaking from a higher truth. You are speaking from the end, and the end contains all the steps. If you persist in speaking from the end, the steps will unfold in perfect order. But if you speak as one who is still on the way, you will remain on the way. The only way to reach the end is to begin at the end in consciousness and stay there. You must become emotionally loyal to the end. That is the test. The senses will tempt you to return to the old state. They will parade their facts before you. They will say, look, nothing has changed. But facts are only the echoes of old assumptions. Do not be swayed by echoes. When the senses tempt you, close your eyes and return to the end. Hear the words you would hear if your desire were fulfilled. Feel the joy you would feel. Touch the world from that vantage point. Refuse to descend to doubt. This is the discipline of faith, to hold to the end in defiance of appearances, and do not think you must know how it will come to pass. The how is not your concern. The how belongs to the unseen intelligence that moves the pieces of the world, like a grand chessboard. You are not the mover of the pieces. You are the chooser of the end. Once the end is chosen and assumed, the means will arrange themselves. The path will appear, step by step, as you walk in the feeling of the accomplished. If you insist upon seeing the whole map before you begin, you will never begin. But if you dare to dwell in the end, the path will unfold as your feet touch it. I tell you this from experience. When you dwell in the end, life becomes strangely effortless. You cease pushing against the current and find yourself carried by it. You cease knocking on doors and find them opening before you. You cease pleading with God and discover that God was waiting all along for you to accept what was already given. The surprise is not that the miracle comes. The surprise is that it had been yours from the beginning, waiting only for your acceptance. Ask yourself tonight, what would I feel if it were done? Not what would I think, but what would I feel? Go there in feeling, rest there, make that feeling your home, return to it in the morning, return to it in the night. When the world shakes you, return to it. When doubt whispers, return to it. Let that feeling become your dwelling place, and the outer world will be compelled to reflect it. The law cannot be broken, as within so without. And when the outer finally yields, when the miracle stands before you in the flesh, you will not be astonished. You will smile gently and say, of course, for you will know you did not receive something new. You only received what you had already accepted as yours. The world will call it sudden, but you will know it was inevitable. It could not have been otherwise, for you dwelt in the end until the end became your beginning. This, my friends, is the way to command the miraculous. Dwell in the end and refuse to leave it. Remain there until it becomes more real than the facts. Walk the earth as one who has already arrived, and in time, the world will catch up to your vision, and you will behold with your outer eye what you first embraced with your inner one. That is the secret. That is the law. And that is how God surprises the world through those who dare to believe before they see. 4. The power of inner assumption. My friends, let us go deeper tonight. We have spoken of imagination as the creative cause, and we have spoken of a desire as the seed from which all manifestations are born. But now, let us stand before the central door, the door through which all miracles enter, the door of assumption. For nothing happens on the outer stage of life until it is first assumed within. An assumption, though it appears to be a simple act of mind, is the very alchemy by which God transforms the invisible into the visible. So let me tell you plainly, to assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled is not a wishful fantasy. It is a divine act. It is the motion of God within you declaring it is done. When you assume, you are not asking life to give it. You are claiming that it already is. And the moment you dare to feel it real, you awaken a power that begins to rearrange the entire universe for its expression. That is why I say, do not wait for signs, be the sign. Do not wait for proof, be the proof. You see, life mirrors what you are, not what you plead for. Pleading confesses lack, but assumption declares possession. If I walk this earth as though it were already mine, the world bows to that inner conviction. The shadow must obey the light that casts it. So if your outer world still contradicts your desire, it is not because the power has failed, it is only that your inner assumption has not yet been made firm. Let me give you an example. Suppose you desire abundance. You may pray for it. You may visualize it. You may affirm it. But if deep down you still identify as the one who lacks, then every affirmation is only a whisper from a beggar. But if you dare to shift your identity, if you dare to feel, even for a moment, that you are now the prosperous one, then everything changes. You will walk differently. You will speak differently. You will make choices from that new state. And soon the world will echo it back to you. This is not a slow process when done faithfully. Assumption is not gradual. Its effects may appear gradual, but the change itself is immediate. The moment you assume, a new cause is set in motion. You may not see it with your outer eyes, but the seed is planted, and it will grow as certainly as night follows day. You cannot plant an apple seed and reap thorns. You cannot assume wealth and reap poverty. What you assume becomes law to you. So I ask you now, what are you assuming? Do you walk this day assuming failure, assuming delay, assuming rejection? Do you rise each morning rehearsing the same weary script of the old man? Or do you dare to enter the new state, the new man who already possesses what your heart longs for? That new man exists now. He is not created by effort. He is discovered by assumption. The new man is not built by years of struggle. He is worn like a garment the instant you claim him. You may say, but Neville, I do not feel it. And I say to you, persist. Feeling will follow if you persist. The child learning to walk does not wait to feel strong before he takes his step. He takes the step and finds his strength in the taking. So it is with you. Assume first, feel later. Assume until feeling becomes natural, until the old man withers from disuse and the new man stands revealed. Let us be practical. Tonight when you are alone and the world is quiet, enter the silence of your own mind. Close your eyes and think of your desire. Now strip away all thought of Sunday and clothe yourself in now. Imagine that it is already done. Ask yourself, if this were now a fact, how would I feel? What would I see when I look into the mirror? What would I hear my friends saying? How would I move through the world? Then take that scene, just a moment of it, and enter it with your whole being. Feel it as though it were real now. Fall asleep in that assumption, and you will have moved the inner cause. The world may appear the same tomorrow, but something will have shifted. Events will begin to unfold. People will be moved. Doors will open. The bridge of incidents will be built, and you will cross it without strain. You do not need to know the how. That is the work of God. Your work is to assume. Remember this eternal truth. Assumption hardens into fact. That which you assume, whether good or ill, must appear, for life has no choice but to outpicture your inner conviction. If you assume you are forgotten, life will prove it to you. If you assume you are chosen, life will prove that too. So guard your assumption, for it is the seed of your destiny. Do not be double-minded. Do not assume one thing in the silence and then contradict it with fear in the day. The divided mind receives nothing. Stand firm in your inner knowing. Let the winds of circumstance blow. They are only shadows. The truth is your assumption, and all else must bow to it. And when the miracle comes, and it will come, do not say, look what life has given me. Say, this is the harvest of what I have sown in secret, for it is always so. Every miracle is the outpicturing of an inner act of faith. So tonight I call you to the highest art, the art of assuming, the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Not tomorrow, not when conditions seem favorable, but now. Step into the state as you would step into a garment. Wear it as your identity. Walk as though you are already what you desire to be, and you shall see the glory of God made manifest in your world. For the world is only a mirror, and it cannot withhold from you what you boldly assume within. Assume, and it shall be so. Believe, and you shall see the miracle. This is the law, and this is the way. 5. The silence when miracles are born. My friends, let us now go still together, for we have spoken of imagination, of desire, of assumption, and their roles in the drama of creation. But understand this well, all these powers flourish only in the fertile soil of inner stillness. Without stillness, your imagination scatters. Without stillness, your desire burns but cannot take root. Without stillness, your assumption flickers like a candle in the wind. It is in the sacred silence within you that miracles are conceived. The world clamors for your attention. It screams its facts, its fears, its appearances. It parades evidence before your senses and insists that you bow to its verdict. But the man who would command life must learn to turn from appearances and enter the deep silence of the soul. For it is only when the senses are hushed, when thought itself grows quiet, that you come face to face with the God within you. Do not imagine this silence to be empty. It is not a void. It is the womb of all creation. It is the eternal stillness out of which worlds are spoken. When you are still, you are not withdrawing from life. You are touching its source. You are not escaping reality. You are descending into the reality that makes all others. Many of you say, I have prayed and nothing happened. But I ask you, how have you prayed? Have you rattled off words with your lips while your mind chased every wandering thought? Have you begged as one who believes himself separate from what he seeks? True prayer is not words, it is silence. True prayer is to still the outer man until only the inner voice remains. And that voice speaks not in words but in knowing. When I speak of silence, I speak of a living state, not mere absence of sound. It is the holy pause between breaths. It is the space where imagination becomes creative, where your desire merges with the eternal and your assumption is ceased. In this silence you cease striving, you cease effort, and you know it is done. That knowing is the mark of answered prayer. You must cultivate this silence daily. Withdraw from the world for a few moments, not to escape it, but to master it. Sit quietly and close the doors of your senses. Let the body grow heavy and the breath grow slow. And when thoughts come, and they will, do not wrestle them. Let them pass like clouds drifting through the sky. Underneath them all there is a vast stillness. Rest there. It is your true self. It is from this stillness that you begin to imagine. And when you imagine from silence, your image is alive. When you imagine from silence, your word is creative. It is not wishful daydreaming. It is the act of God moving through you. For God creates not by noise, not by effort, but by still knowing. And you, being one with God, must do the same. Consider this. When a seed is planted in the soil, it does not shout. It does not strive. It rests in the dark silence, and life stirs within it. So it is with the seed of your desire. You must plant it in the quiet soil of your soul. Do not dig it up each day to see if it has sprouted. Leave it there. Nurture it in stillness. And when the season is right, it will push through the surface as if by magic. The noise of the world would have you believe that action alone brings results. But I tell you, action is only the fruit. The root is in silence. Every true action, every inspired word, every outer miracle springs from an inner stillness. Jesus withdrew to the mountain alone to pray, and returned with power. Moses entered the cloud of silence on Sinai, and came forth radiant. So must you. Withdraw from the outer to commune with the inner. And as you enter that silence, do not come as a beggar. Come as the one who already possesses. Come as the one who is now becoming aware of what has always been true. In silence, assume the end. Feel the wish fulfilled. And then this is the key. Be still and know, not be still and hope, not be still and wonder. Be still and know that I am God, that I am the one who does the work, that I am the one who fulfills my own word. You will find that when you emerge from such silence, the world will seem strangely different. It may look the same, yet it will feel pliable, responsive, alive, as though it were waiting for your command. And that is the truth, for the world is only the shadow of your inner state. When your inner stillness deepens, the shadow rearranges itself with ease. But if you live only in the noise, if you are tossed about by headlines, opinions, appearances, you will create in confusion. You will speak one thing and expect another. Imagine one end and fear its opposite. You will scatter your power. So I urge you, become intimate with silence. Guard it as the treasure it is. Make it your secret dwelling place. Do not say you are too busy. A single minute of true silence is worth hours of noisy striving. You can enter it in the space between breaths, in the quiet before sleep, in the pause between thoughts. It is always with you, for it is what you are. And as you live more and more from this silence, you will discover something astonishing. Miracles begin to happen naturally. They are no longer rare intrusions into your life. They become the rhythm of your life, because you are now living from the center, and the center is God. So my friends, the miracle you await is not hiding in the future. It is waiting in your silence. Enter it. Close your eyes tonight and descend into that sacred stillness. Let the world fall away. Let your mind grow quiet. And there in that holy hush, feel your desire is already fulfilled. Feel the joy of its completion, and then release it into the silence and rest. This is the highest prayer. This is the secret chamber where the Father sees in secret and rewards open. This is the place where God whispers, "It is done," and the world must obey. So be still and know. Be still and receive. Be still and watch the miracle rise from the silence within you. For the God who surprises you is not coming from without. He is already here, speaking in the quiet of your own heart. And if you will listen in silence, you will hear him say, "All that you have asked, I have done." The bridge of incident. My friends, now that you have heard of imagination as the creative power, of desire as the seed, of assumption as the garment, and of silence as the sacred womb, let us walk further along this holy path and speak of what follows. The bridge of incidents. For once you have assumed the feeling of the wish fulfilled, life itself will conspire to lead you from where you stand to the very thing you have imagined. That path is what I call the bridge of incidents. Understand this clearly. You are never asked to build the bridge. You are only asked to walk it. The bridge is woven by powers beyond your conscious mind. It is the invisible hand of God arranging all things for the fulfillment of your inner conviction. But because the steps are often unfamiliar, many abandon their vision midway. They pray for their desire, assume its reality, yet when life begins to shift, they cry, "Why this? Why now?" They do not see that the answer has begun and the bridge is rising beneath their feet. Let me tell you plainly, the moment you assume the end, the universe is set in motion. Events begin to rearrange themselves. People who never thought of you before are stirred to act. Circumstances align. Old structures collapse. New opportunities appear. But this orchestration may not look at first like a blessing. It may even appear like disruption. Yet if you persist in your assumption, you will see that each step was necessary. Consider Joseph in Scripture. He dreamed of rulership, and at once his world seemed to crumble, betrayed by his brothers, sold into slavery, cast into prison. Yet each seeming setback was a step on the bridge that carried him to Pharaoh's throne. So it is with you. Do not judge the bridge while you are on it. The bridge is not the destination, and it rarely resembles the glory that awaits at its end. Here is the divine paradox. Once you have assumed the end, you must let go of the means. You cannot dictate the path. If you attempt to control the steps, you return to the old state of doubt. You confess that you do not trust the power that called worlds into being. But if you stand firm in your knowing, it is done, you will be carried. The path may twist, but it will not fail. Often the bridge begins subtly. You may feel a sudden impulse to call someone, to visit a place, to read a certain book. Follow those impulses, for they are whispers from the deeper self, from the God within, who sees the whole pattern. At other times the bridge may erupt as dramatic change, loss of a job, the end of an old relationship, the closing of a door. Do not mourn. Do not cling. These are not endings. They are the shifting of scenery to make way for the miracle. I remember a woman who longed to live in a distant city. Each night she assumed she was already there. She walked its streets in imagination. She smelled its air, heard its sounds, felt its life as her own. Soon after, she lost her job unexpectedly. Her friends said, "You see, your dreaming has failed you." But within weeks a position opened in that very city, and she was offered it. What appeared at first as loss was the first plank in the bridge. Had she judged too soon, she would have turned back. So I say to you, when change begins, do not flinch, remain faithful to your end. The bridge may carry you through unfamiliar terrain, but it will not fail. You are not alone upon it. The same power that planted the desire walks the bridge with you. This bridge is often invisible until you look back. Only then do you see how perfectly each step was ordered. You see that the person who seemed an enemy was an unwitting messenger. You see that the closed door spared you from a lesser fate. You see that the detour was the straightest road, and you stand in awe of the intelligence that wove it all together from your single act of inner faith. So how shall you walk the bridge? Walk it with trust. Walk it with praise. Do not keep digging up your seed to check if it has grown. Do not keep asking, when will it come? Speak instead, it is coming now. It is unfolding now. I walk the bridge prepared for me, and move as though your prayer were already answered. For it, let me be very practical with you. When an event occurs that seems contrary to your desire, pause and remind yourself, this too belongs to the bridge. Say it aloud if you must. This simple statement will keep you from falling into fear, because fear is the only thing that can delay you. Not people, not circumstances. Only your own doubt can halt your journey. You may be tempted to force outcomes, to push the river, but remember the bridge requires no effort, only alignment. It is not your labor that fulfills the vision, it is your loyalty to it. Life itself does the work. Your only task is to stay faithful to the end you have chosen, and to move in harmony with the impulses that arise from within. Even apparent mistakes are woven into the bridge. Even what you call delays are perfect in timing. There are no accidents once you have assumed the end. The entire universe becomes your servant, though it may disguise itself as chaos for a season. So I tell you, do not fear the middle. The middle is where most men abandon their dreams, but it is also where miracles ripen. Hold your vision most firmly when the night seems darkest, because just beyond that night, the bridge touches the shore of your desire. When you walk this way, life becomes a wonder. You no longer tremble at change, for you see it as movement toward your blessing. You no longer resist the unknown, for you trust the wisdom that guides your step, and each fulfilled desire becomes a testimony that strengthens your faith for the next. This is how God surprises you, not with lightning from the heavens, but with a path so perfectly arranged you could never have devised it. He does not hurl your blessing at you from afar. He leads you to it by the bridge. He builds from your faith. So tonight, assume the end, and then release the how. Rest in the knowing that the bridge is already rising. And when the first step appears, take it bold. Walk on though the mist hides the next plank. Walk on though the winds howl. Walk on with praise on your lips, because the bridge is sure, and it will deliver you. And when you stand at last in the fulfillment of your desire, you will look back on the strange and winding path, and marvel, saying, surely God was in this all along. Yes, my friends, He was and He is. And even now as you sit here, the bridge is being laid. So rejoice and walk. For your miracle is not waiting somewhere in the distance. It is waiting just across the bridge. 7. The power of living in the end. My friends, if you would taste the glory of answered prayer, if you would know the ecstasy of walking as a creator in your own world, then you must master this one thing. Living in the end, this is the secret that unlocks all doors, the key that turns every lock. It is the golden thread that runs through all the mysteries of Scripture, all the teachings of the prophets, all the victories of the awakened soul. What does it mean to live in the end? It means that you cease dwelling in the state of hoping, wishing, or waiting, and you consciously abide in the state of it is done. It means that you no longer plead with the heavens to grant your desire, for you know it is already granted. It means you feel now as you would feel if your desire were already a present fact. This is the great art of faith. Not looking forward to a fulfillment, but looking out from it. Do you see the difference? Most people imagine their desire as something out there, something coming someday. They say, I will be happy when this arrives. And by that very statement, they confess they are not it now. But to live in the end is to move your center of being. It is to relocate your consciousness from longing to having, from absence to possession, from separation to union. Faith is not waiting for the promise. It is walking as the promise fulfilled. That is why Jesus said, when you pray, believe that you have received it, and you shall. Not believe that you will receive it is too late. If you push it into the future, you must believe you have received. You must carry yourself as though it were already so. And here is the wonder. When you do this faithfully, the outer world will bend to mirror your inner state. This is not imagination as fantasy. This is imagination as causation. You do not live in the end to escape reality. You live in the end to create it. Let me make this very practical. Suppose you desire wealth. Do not say, I will be wealthy one day. That day never comes. Instead, go inward and feel now the security, the ease, the gratitude of already being wealthy. Dwell there until it becomes natural. Then carry that feeling into your day. Walk as the one who has, not as the one who waits. And life will bring you the forms that match that feeling. Or perhaps you long for love. Do not say, one day someone will love me. That is a confession of loneliness. Instead, close your eyes and feel the warmth of being cherished. Hear the voice of your beloved speaking tenderly to you. Feel their hand in yours. Let that feeling fill you until it saturates your being, and then move through your days as one who is already loved. For you are. The world cannot withhold what you embody. Living in the end is not pretending. It is becoming. It is not lying to yourself. It is awakening to a deeper truth. For everything you desire already exists in the invisible. You are not creating something from nothing. You are selecting it from the infinite storehouse of God, and you select it by occupancy. You must occupy the state of the wish for. This is why I say your assumption is not a garment you put on for a moment. It must become your dwelling place. Many will assume the end briefly in imagination, then return at once to the old state. They look for evidence, and seeing none, they abandon their vision. But the wise remain. They do not flit between states. They abide. They refuse to come down from the mountaintop of fulfillment, even if the valley below still looks unchanged. Think of it this way. If you were cast in a play and given the role of a king, you would not merely say the lines, you would carry yourself as royalty. You would move as a king. Think as a king, feel as a king, until it became second nature. So it is with your desire. You must wear it as an identity, not as a wish. And here lies the secret few grasp. The world cannot resist your state. It must conform. Reality is not fixed. It is fluid, malleable, responsive. It reflects your inner stance like a mirror. When you persist in living in the end, the world has no choice but to rearrange itself around your conviction. But living in the end requires discipline. The senses will shout, it is not here. Appearances will mock you. Circumstances will contradict your inner vision. This is the testing ground. Will you be swayed by the outer or anchored in the inner? The outer is the past. The inner is the cause. Choose the inner. And when doubt whispers, do not fight it. Simply return to the end. Close your eyes and enter again the feeling of fulfillment. Let it wash over you until doubt dissolves. Do this as often as needed. Each return strengthens the state until it becomes effortless, natural, unquestioned. Be warned of this. If you persist in dwelling in the old state, you will perpetuate it. Life does not give you what you want. It gives you what you are. So become the thing you seek. Live in the end, and the end will live in you. I recall a man who longed to be free from debt. He would daily count his bills, complain of lack, speak of his poverty, yet he also tried to affirm wealth. He wondered why nothing changed. I told him, you are affirming wealth while living as poverty. You must stop rehearsing lack and begin rehearsing abundance. He heeded the advice. Each night he imagined opening statements that showed surplus, felt the relief of being debt-free, and gave thanks as though it were done. Within weeks, unexpected income appeared. Opportunities arose and his debts vanished. What changed? Not the outer first, but the inner. He lived in the end, and the end became flesh. So I say to you, choose this day the end you will dwell in. Will you live in the end of lack, or the end of plenty? The end of loneliness or the end of love? The end of sickness or the end of wholeness? Whatever end you occupy, life will build the bridge to it. Make this your practice. Each morning, before you rise, close your eyes and feel the end fulfilled. Each night as you drift to sleep, let that feeling cradle you. Let it saturate your being until you wake already clothed in it, and move through your day from that state. Not looking toward it, but looking out from it. This is how God creates. He declares the end from the beginning. He speaks the thing as though it were, and it becomes. And you, being one with God, must do the same. Live in the end, and the world will rearrange itself to match your dwelling place. Live in the end, and miracles will cease to surprise you. They will become the natural outpouring of your state. So tonight, withdraw from the noise. Close your eyes and enter the end. Walk its halls. Breathe its air. Feel its joy as yours. And when you open your eyes, refuse to leave it. Carry it with you, like a secret crown. For as you live in the end will hasten to meet you. This is the great truth, the royal road to every answered prayer. Assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, and live there, not as a visitor but as a resident, not as a dreamer but as a possessor. And soon what you once called imagination will stand before you as solid fact. Yes, my friends, this is the power that changes worlds. Live in the end, and the end will live in you. 8. The silent moment before the miracle. My friends, tonight I want to bring your attention to something most people overlook. The silent interval, the still moment before the miracle comes into view. It is this sacred pause, this seeming emptiness, that confuses so many and causes them to abandon their faith just before the harvest. Yet it is in that silence, in that invisible womb of the unseen, where your miracle is forming, where the surprise of God is arranging itself in perfect order. You have planted the seed of desire in the fertile soil of your imagination. You have clothed it with feeling, nurtured it with faith, watered it with the living waters of attention. And now there is nothing more to do but wait in the certainty of its fulfillment. But how difficult it is for man to wait without restlessness, to trust the invisible without demanding immediate proof. Yet I tell you, it is in this very waiting that your faith matures, and it is this maturity that permits the miracle to break through into time. Do you remember what the psalmist said? Be still and know that I am God. To be still is not to be idle. To be still is to stand in the full conviction that the thing hoped for is already accomplished. Stillness is the assurance that refuses to be disturbed by appearances. It is the heart that says, though I see nothing, though nothing has moved, yet it is done in me. And in that quiet knowing, the miracle is compelled to appear. We are so accustomed to movement, to evidence, to signs and signals, that we often sabotage the divine process by meddling with it. We plant the seed and then dig it up to see if it has sprouted. But the seed must remain hidden in darkness to grow. Your desire, once impressed upon the subconscious, once accepted as real in the deep of self, is moving toward you, even as you sit in apparent stillness. That silence is not emptiness, it is fullness concealed. The world teaches that if nothing is happening outwardly, then nothing is happening at all. But I tell you the reverse is true. The most powerful movements occur in silence, beneath the surface, unseen by the sense. The seed cracks in the soil without noise. The child forms in the womb without announcement. The dawn comes silently before the sun bursts over the horizon. So too does your miracle come. Silently, secretly, inevitably. And here is the great test of faith. To praise God when there is nothing to see. To walk as though the miracle has come while the outer world mocks your hope. To rejoice not in what the eyes behold, but in what the heart knows. This is the faith that astonishes heaven and moves mountains. This is the confidence that makes God's surprise inevitable. Consider the story of Elijah. He told his servant to go and look toward the sea for a sign of rain. 6 times the servant saw nothing, but Elijah did not waver. He knew, he persisted in silence. And on the 7th time the servant saw a small cloud the size of a man's hand. That was enough. Elijah knew the abundance of rain was already upon them. So it is with you. Perhaps you see nothing. Perhaps you hear nothing. Perhaps all seems still. But if you have assumed the feeling of the wish fulfilled, the cloud has already formed. The rain is coming. The silence between your assumption and its manifestation is not a void to fear. It is the sacred chamber where God performs his artistry. The caterpillar vanishes into the stillness of the cocoon before it emerges as the butterfly. There is always this hidden interval, this divine hush, before the unveiling. Do not disturb it with doubt. Do not tear open the cocoon with anxious hands. Trust the silence, for it is alive with God's promise. Some of you here tonight are standing in that still place. You have imagined, you have believed. You have seen the end in the theater of your mind, and now nothing moves. Do not let despair enter. This is not the death of your dream. This is its gestation. This is the quiet just before the curtain rises. God has heard you. The miracle is already written, and because it is written, it must appear. Rest, therefore, in the assurance of fulfillment. Walk each day as though your desire were already yours. For in imagination it is. Let no appearance shake you from that inner conviction. And as you do, you will find that without your effort, without your striving, the pieces begin to arrange themselves. People will appear. Opportunities will align. Events will conspire, not because you labored for them, but because you believed. And belief makes the unseen seen. When the silence seems longest, that is when you are nearest the manifestation. The night is darkest, just before the dawn. The womb is quietest, just before the birth cry. The field is still just before the green shoots break through the soil. So when everything in you wants to scream, nothing is happening, answer it with the quiet power of faith. It is done. I have walked through many silences in my own life. Desires I once thought delayed forever suddenly burst forth, in perfect form when I least expected them. And always they came after that still period, when all appeared unchanged. So now I welcome the silence as a sign that the unseen is stirring. I rejoice in it as the prelude to the surprise. For the silence is not the absence of God. It is his presence preparing to be revealed. Therefore embrace your silent season. Do not call it delay. Do not call it denial. Call it the divine pause. Call it the holy interval. Call it the sacred stillness before the trumpet sound. For soon and sooner than you think, the silence will break, and the miracle will rush in like a mighty wind. And when it does, you will stand in awe, for it will be greater, richer, and more perfect than you imagined. That is the way of God. That is the nature of his surprises. So be still, be expectant, be unwavering. The silence is not the end. It is the threshold. And as you stand upon it in faith, the door will open, and you will step into the very thing you have longed for. And you will know beyond doubt that God has done it, and that he has done it perfectly. 9. The sudden unfolding of the promise. My friends, when the miracle comes, it will not tiptoe toward you. It will rush upon you with the suddenness of a dream come true. It will break into your life like dawn breaking through a long and weary night. And it will do so not because of effort, not because of struggle, but because you dared to believe in the unseen and to persist in that belief, when every outer sign denied it. The world calls it chance, but you will know it as the inevitable flowering of the seed you planted in imagination. Do you understand what I mean when I say sudden? I do not mean chaotic or haphazard. I mean the precise moment when the invisible becomes visible, when what has been secretly growing within bursts through into form. It will seem sudden to the senses, because the senses did not see the slow and certain construction taking place behind the veil. But nothing in God's work is sudden to God. It is only sudden to the mind that has forgotten it was already finished. Every miracle appears sudden because it has long been complete in the unseen. The world only witnesses its arrival, not its preparation. You witnessed the fruit on the branch, but you did not watch the hidden work of roots beneath the soil. So too it is with your desires. They are taking root in the deep of your being, and when the time is full, They will appear as though out of nowhere, but they do not come from nowhere. They come from you, from the eternal reality you dared to claim as yours. This is why I say walk as though your desire were already present. For if you walk as though it was still to come, you place it always in the future. And the future is the one place where it can never be born. All creation is finished. All that will ever be is already. To manifest is only to select from the infinite, and to persist in that selection until it hardens into fact. The moment you assume it as real, it becomes real in the unseen, and from that unseen it must flow into your world. But the manner of its appearance will astonish you. You will say, I never imagined it would come through this person, or by this way, yet it comes by the most perfect route, the route only God could devise. That is why you are never to concern yourself with the how. The how belongs to the unseen intelligence that shapes all things. Your part is only to dwell in the end, to live in the feeling of the wish fulfilled. The rest is already arranged. When you release your concern for the how, you free the power to move as it will. You stop trying to push the river and allow it to carry you, and it will carry you in ways more graceful and swift than you can conceive. Opportunities will open, conversations will unfold, doors will swing wide, yet none of it will be from your strain. It will seem effortless, and that effortlessness will be the sure sign that God has done. And when it comes, oh how swiftly it comes. One day you stand in the old state, and the next you awaken in the new. One moment you are the man who hoped, and the next you are the man who possesses. That is the surprise of God. That is the divine swiftness of fulfillment. It will feel as though heaven itself has bent low to crown you with the answer. You will stand in awe, wondering how it could have been so sudden, yet in truth it was inevitable from the moment you believe. Remember the words, before they call I will answer, and while they are yet speaking I will hear. This means the answer is already woven into the call. The miracle is already contained in the desire. The moment you felt it and assumed it, it was done. What you call waiting is only the unfolding of what already is. The surprise is not that it happens. The surprise is only how and when it chooses to appear to your senses. But even this when is not random. It appears at the exact moment your inner conviction becomes stronger than the evidence of the senses. It breaks through the instant your inner world outweighs the outer. When you can look at your world and see nothing of your desire, and yet feel it as vividly as though it were here, then it must come. The outer world has no choice but to yield to the inner certainty. That is the law. Some of you will experience it as a sudden shift of circumstance, an unexpected letter, a phone call, a chance meeting that is no chance at all. Others will find the change happening in yourselves, a new strength, a new clarity, a new way of seeing that makes the old problem dissolve like mist. However it comes, it will come with a swiftness that leaves no doubt. And when it does, you will say, of course it was mine all along. So I urge you, stop measuring the progress of your desire by outer signs. Do not say nothing is happening. Something is always happening in the unseen. Do not say it is taking too long. Nothing delays but your own wavering. The moment you stop wavering, the moment you rest in the done, the current accelerates and brings it swift. The more you press, the more you push it away. The more you relax in faith, the faster it flies to you. This is the paradox of creation. The moment you cease grasping, it grasps you. The moment you cease seeking, it finds you. The moment you cease straining to make it happen, it happens. That is why I say, walk in quiet joy. Go about your days as one who already possesses. Speak little of your desire, but inwardly dwell in its reality. Refuse to be swayed by appearances, for they are only the echo of former state. A new state will bring forth a new echo, and it will do so without delay. And when the miracle arrives, and it will, you will feel the world bend around you. You will feel time itself reshuffle to accommodate the new reality. The very people who once seemed obstacles will become instruments of your good. The closed doors will reveal themselves as doors that opened inward all along. Everything will seem to say, this was always meant for you. And it was. It always. The miracle does not come because you chase it. It comes because you become it. And becoming is an inward act, a silent acceptance, a willingness to live now as who you choose to be. Do this and you will not need to go toward your desire, for your desire will come racing to you. It will overtake you on the road. It will surprise you in your sleep. It will burst upon you like the breaking of a wave, and you will be drenched in its fulfillment. So let this be your posture. Calm, confident. Expect, not tense, not grasping, not peering anxiously into the distance, but knowing, serene, inwardly full. This is the posture that hastens the surprise. This is the spirit that draws the miracle like iron to a magnet. For God moves most swiftly where there is least resistance, and there is no resistance in one who already knows it is done. And when you stand in that knowing, when you refuse to be shaken by the passing hour, you place yourself in the path of sudden wonder. Then the unseen becomes seen, the intangible becomes tangible, and what was only a dream becomes your waking world. And you will look back and laugh, for you will see how simple it was. You believed and it appeared. That is the whole mystery. That is the great surprise of God. 10. Walking in the fulfillment of your desire. My friends, we have traveled together through imagination, desire, assumption, silence, the bridge of incidents living in the end, and the sudden unfolding of the promise. And now we arrive at the final station, the last and most glorious truth. Walking in the fulfillment of your desire. This is the destination that all teachings point to, the state where faith ceases to struggle, and reality bows to the inner conviction of man. It is here that you stand, not in anticipation, not in longing, but in the full awareness that the thing you sought has come to pass. But understand, walking in fulfillment is not an event. It is a state of consciousness. It is not something that happens once and is done. It is something you maintain moment by moment, in thought, feeling, and deed. It is to inhabit the world as one already blessed, to move through life as one already complete, to see with eyes that know the vision is yours and ears that hear only the confirmation of it. Many have come to me and asked, Neville, how will I know when I have truly arrived? I tell you plainly, you know by the quality of your inner experience. If you feel ease where there was struggle, joy where there was longing, certainty where there was doubt, then you have arrived. The outer may not yet reflect it in every detail, but that does not matter. Inner man is the builder of the outer world, and once he has assumed his state, the outer cannot help but follow. Walking in fulfillment requires vigilance, for the mind is a restless companion. It will attempt to drag you back to old scenes, old fears, old limitations. The world will tempt you with appearances that deny the reality you now inhabit. People may speak as though nothing has changed. Circumstances may challenge your new state, but do not falter. Stand firm in the consciousness of having already received. Keep your mind in harmony with the vision, and all else will bend to it. Consider the great law. What you feel and assume to be real is the only reality you can know. Therefore, your task is not to fix the outer, not to correct appearances, not to reason about events, but to maintain the inner state. This is walking in fulfillment, the discipline of living in the inner knowing, irrespective of the outer seem. And when you do this, the world itself becomes a mirror of your conviction. You may ask, Neville, how do I maintain this state in the face of trials? My answer is, do not fight the trials, embrace them as instruments. Every seeming obstacle is a tool to test, strengthen, and refine your inner assumption. When life challenges you, do not recoil. Stand as the fulfilled one. Speak as the fulfilled one. Act as the fulfilled one. Let your inner state remain untouched by outer appearances. The outer is always in flux. The inner is eternal. Anchor yourself there, and remember the secret of God's timing. Everything unfolds in perfect order, though it may appear chaotic to the senses. The bridge of incidents has been laid. The steps may be strange, unexpected, or even uncomfortable. Yet each step leads to the fulfillment you have assumed. Walk it with confidence, for you are guided. You are not alone. God moves through every circumstance on your behalf. Trust Him and move as the fulfilled one. Now let us speak of joy, for walking in fulfillment is inseparable from joy. Joy is the recognition of alignment with your inner state. When you live as though your desire is already fulfilled, when you dwell in the end, when you trust the unseen and walk in quiet assurance, joy will arise naturally. It is the proof of your inner lawfulness. It is the confirmation that your consciousness has become the cause, and the world is obedient to it. Let this joy be your constant companion. Let it color every thought, every word, every deed. And with joy comes gratitude. Gratitude is the living acknowledgement that your desire is already accomplished. It is the heart's affirmation of the unseen completion. Do not wait for outward manifestation to give thanks. Give thanks now, and in doing so, you seal your fulfillment. Gratitude transforms mere hope into living reality. It opens the inner channels through which the miracle flows freely. But walking in fulfillment is not only for yourself, it is for the world. As you inhabit the state of your desire, you radiate a power that affects others. Your calm confidence, your quiet joy, your unwavering faith, and your assumption of the end, all these become invisible currents that move through people and circumstances around you. You become a living testimony of the law of imagination. You become a conduit for the divine, a demonstration of what is possible when man dares to believe. And so, my friends, take this to heart. The miracle is not the end. The end is the living state. It is not the arrival of a thing. It is the consciousness that perceives it as already here. To walk in fulfillment is to occupy the throne of your own imagination. It is to know that you are co-creator with God, that nothing can resist your inner lawfulness, and that all things must obey the state you inhabit. Practice this daily. In every hour, in every encounter, in every moment of choice, ask yourself, am I walking as the fulfilled one? Am I seeing with the eyes of the accomplished? Am I feeling the joy of my desire as if it were already real? And if you find that you are not, return to the inner chamber. Close your eyes, enter the state, and dwell there until it permeates every fiber of your being. Then return to life, and carry that reality with you. And finally remember this eternal truth. There is no limit to what you can walk in fulfillment. Desire is finite only in appearance. The infinite within you can assume any end, and that end must manifest. The law is perfect. Your imagination is God in action. Your assumption is the decree that moves worlds. Your faith is the channel through which the impossible becomes inevitable. So walk boldly, my friend. Walk as the fulfilled one. Walk with joy, with gratitude, and with unshakable faith. Walk in the knowledge that the miracle has already been done. And as you walk, you will see the world change before your eyes, as reality bends to the consciousness that dares to know itself as complete. This, my friends, is the climax of all understanding. To live fully, freely, and joyfully in the fulfillment of your desire. To inhabit the world as the already accomplished. To be the living proof of God's love. And in doing so, to astonish yourself and others alike with the inexhaustible power of imagination made real. Walk in fulfillment, and life becomes a continuous revelation of miracles. Walk in fulfillment, and you become the wonder that the world cannot withhold. Walk in fulfillment, and you will know beyond all doubt that God has surprised you, blessed you, and revealed to you the limitless power that always was, and always will be yours. Yes, my friends, walk in fulfillment, and behold the glory of your own creation.